Alan, you do. We can see you better in the light. Yep. Look at that.
Okay.
All right,
How's
everybody.
that?
I believe we are officially live, and let me just check really quick to make sure. And yes, we are. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension, and welcome to the Starseed panel. And today is an amazing day, not only because we're talking about an event that all of us are going to be at, but these individuals you're about to meet or meet again or tune into, we've been working with each other for quite some time and a lot of overlaps here. So this is kind of like a family or a galactic reunion, if you will, because the amount of awareness that is being shared by the individuals that you're about to receive transmissions from today is truly unprecedented and profound. So this is not just us talking about our work and also talking about the conference coming up, but this is a transmission from the stars today. And this is a Starseed panel, which is, a little side note here. There's a Starseed panel, Starseed conference coming up April 2nd that Alan's going to be a part of, that Flo's putting on. And I want to start it out by talking about Starseeds going mainstream. For all the panelists right here, I'm going to put you guys on gallery. Give me a nod if you've seen the news broadcast about Starseeds that happened over the last couple weeks. You guys saw that, right? So no. Okay. So the Popular Mechanics released this article basically saying that there's all these people in the world that think that they're ETs incarnated on Earth and that they're here to help humanity evolve to a whatever, to help humanity out basically. And it was just one article, but then it got picked up by the mainstream news outlets, MSNBC, NBC, CNN, all started doing different broadcasts about it and going into depth about kind of in depth, a few minutes, explaining the fact that there are all these individuals out there that think they're starseeds. So think that they're from the stars. And the reason why they did this, and because, I do SEO on YouTube videos, so I already know that one of the number one spiritually searched keywords on YouTube is what is a starseed. So they probably were thinking, why are people searching this? And started researching it and found out there's a whole community of people that believe that ET is incarnated on Earth. So this, I feel, has is on some level, no matter what, everything they do backfires to the point that all they're doing is just allowing more people to be aware of this concept. And I got a feeling that there are those out there that probably think they're from the stars or believe that they have some sort of ET connection or even have ET memories that didn't even know there was a community out there that is doing this work. So, this is just showing that over the last few years, more and more of what we're doing is being validated and it's coming out into the mainstream because this isn't a fad. This is the new age. This is the new world. And the new world is the paranormal becomes normal, the supernatural becomes natural, and that's what we're moving towards. So we're seeing it seeping over into the mainstream because it's all a part of the divine plan, I feel. So it's the perfect timing for us to really have this panel now and have these discussions here. So,
I also want to say,
go ahead,
Neil,
Alan.
I just want to say this is sort of the first generation of starseeds we're talking to, because there's a lot of people claim to be starseeds and they're just recently waking up, and that's great. But these people on our panel tonight, great women, have been around, and so they're really first generation of activated starseeds, along with me, you, and Joan. And so there's, I think, this wisdom that can be gathered from Lori and Jenna and Sheila and Geraldine that you don't get from someone who's saying, yeah, I'm a starseed, that's great, and then what? So let's go deep tonight into really where this planet's going as leaders of a starseed nation. Activate the higher consciousness. That's what I'd love to see for tonight.
I love that. Why don't you start out, Alan, because you only have a few minutes. So what are your thoughts on that?
So everything's changing now, right? I mean, if you believe in astrology, Pluto has gone into Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of free thinking. Pluto's the sign of digging up all that underground, subconscious. And so we're meeting these two different worlds, the deep part of esoterics that have not been conscious before. So, but it's also all changing. So we're moving into a new time of unprecedented revelations. I love the phrase more than you ever imagined. That's sort of where we're going now. It's more than we could imagine in the past. The information, the activations, the alignment is just another level of who we are. So there's an awakening in the person that is going to happen right now, that people have new thoughts, new inventions, new, you know, the new TRAPPIST one planet is being discovered, and they claim to have life there. So this is in the Aquarius constellation. So we are just on the threshold of a new world, and this is where we're heading as a Starseed nation. So that's all I can say right now, but I'll try to jump back in a little bit. Okay.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you. And let's go ahead.
Thanks,
and
everybody. Great.
See you in a bit, brother. So let's go ahead and go around the panel.
Yeah.
I'd love for each of you to just, take a couple of minutes and really just let everybody know who you are. And I feel that I think it would be interesting to know, when did you guys actually have the realization that you are connected to star beings, or even an incarnated being on this planet? Because, for example, I woke up to spirituality, and it took me a good 10 years before I even dived deep into the whole concept of beings being from the stars coming down to Earth. So was it the same for you? Did it all happen in one go? So let's go ahead around the panel and start with you, Geraldine.
Yeah, thank you so much. For me, I guess it was a lack of having language at an early age, but I was praying to the Pleiades before I even understood that it was the Pleiades as a child when I was 5 years old, looking up at the constellation, yearning and desiring to go back home. And of course, having experiences since the age of 5, and then unique experiences after that. I didn't quite understand that it was interdimensional or ET consciousness that was emerging. And it wasn't until 2013 for me, when I had my conscious contact experience, that I actually understood my entire life. My entire life made sense, because in that moment I met my hybrid children. I was taken to the Pleiades. I was shown myself in the Pleiades as an aspect of myself, my Pleiadian aspect, and what I had been doing, and I guess agreements that I had made in order to come into this earth. And every single moment of my life began to make sense. Every pain, every illness, every good thing that happened to me was an enlightening initiation, in a sense, progressively. That allowed me to come into the realization that we are not the human body. This is a temporary experience. We are universal, interdimensional, I guess you can say intergalactic beings, that we wake up consciousness and begin to remember. That's the key, that we're remembering our origins that transcend our human DNA lineages. So yeah, that was it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Geraldine. Jenna, how about you? You're muted.
Excuse me. Hi. So my conscious contact really didn't start until about 4 years ago. I only woke up 5 years ago, and I now know that I had to complete the first part of my mission as a leader at Whole Foods before my memories turned on. And I had recurring dreams. One recurring dream as a child around the age of 4 and 5, which is pretty consistent with a lot of contactees, starseeds who had childhood experiences. And that dream was burned in the back of my mind forever, but I never, connected the dots on what was that dream and why was it happening. So as I started to wake up about 4 years ago, I started having extraordinary, experiences and synchronicities that started to help me understand that something different was going on with me. And then I started receiving conscious contact from what I now know to be my star family, ET beings with whom I've had other life experiences. And and actually last year, I went through a regression with Barbara Lamb, another regression that helped me understand what that childhood dream was, and helped me understand that was not a dream. That was a screen memory for lots of contact that was occurring back then. And like Geraldine, it all makes sense now. Because I progressed as a leader at Whole Foods in a really fast way at a young age without a college degree. And looking back now, I recognize that I was employing, a lot of these, interdimensional type of abilities. I had, clairvoyance and claircognizance and clairsentience that I was just utilizing in these ways that were not totally conscious for me back then. But as the progression of my awakening, quickened, it became clear, oh, I see what's going on now. I had this programmed into me, when I came to Earth, so that I could accomplish that mission. And so it's been, a really interesting, wild, extraordinary journey of awakening those memories. It's like a time release, like medicine, where it's like those memories and the consciousness unlocks on this like time release schedule. And that's what's been happening. So it's been, just this incredible experience of remembering who I am and where I come from.
That's so beautiful. It's so interesting when we wake up and then you look at your past and you can see all these things happened that were leading you up to this moment, and all these things in the past start making sense. People in your life, things that you were experiencing. Like for me, when I woke up, I started looking at all my music I was listening to for the last 10 years. And I realized it was all like embedded with consciousness and ET symbolism, the music I was listening to. But it was at a point where I wasn't even aware of it. Like Tool, I don't know if you probably know the band Tool.
Yep.
They were my favorite band. And then I woke up and I realized that they were talking about 46 and 2, the DNA strands. They were talking about awakening of humanity. So it's like our soul is kind of emanating these experiences, and for us to basically remember until the point that we do, right? So it's kind of similar to what happened with you.
And that's a great question, Neil. I've been sitting here like really, I can't wait to hear everyone else's waking up, but great question.
Which question is that?
Like when did you first wake up to the fact that you're
Right.
part extraterrestrial starseed family, that you are a starseed?
Exactly.
And
So
it's
Sheila,
a
how about
great
you?
deal.
Well, I guess I had a few little time capsules that opened up along the way as well. In 1999, I became a walk-in soul, but it took really about 12 years of pure integration, soul clearing or cellular clearing, behavioral changes, all kinds of things. I knew that I was a walk-in. I couldn't really wrap my brain around being a walk-in because every belief system that I'd ever had was shattered, even though I accepted it. It was a really strange time in my life. But in 2012, I believe when that new photonic wave came across the planet, there was another up-leveling. And that's when I began to understand that I was part of a collective. Now, as being part of the collective, I was part of I had my multidimensional aspects of my Arcturian, Andromedan, Palladian, angelic, Syrian, Lyran, Mantis, all of those lives that I had lived before. And we were in pure consciousness and had come to the planet and was working in the crystalline grid. And so that realization was another mind blower. And then having my guides tell me that I was Arcturian, then to realize that the aspects of the Arcturian came in as not to fry the biology of the sick body that I had entered into. And now more and more information has come to me, and more of my soul aspects of being an Andromedan has come in. And so I can't wait to see what else starts to come in. But it's really a very, very exciting time. I know even since the spring equinox, there's been so much happening, and people are beginning to release. They're having old patterns coming up. Timelines are beginning to collapse. People are waking up and feeling like they're in a brand new location or a brand new body. People are divorcing, getting out of relationships, changing jobs. Everything is moving. And because these timelines are beginning to collapse, I believe that we're starting to kind of skip time, that we're starting to jump timelines, moving from one timeline into a higher dimensional frequency. And so as we are inundated with more and more of these photonic waves that's washing across the planet, I truly believe that more and more people are going to change and wake up to the fact that they are a star seed.
Yes, I love that. I love, and Geraldine said the same word, so did Jenna. And what you're explaining with you reclaiming these parts of yourself is that word remembering, right? I feel it's the most beautiful word. It really is that we've had amnesia and we're reclaiming parts of ourselves. And as we do that, we have a fuller picture of what it means to be us living on this planet at this moment, right? So it's just so beautiful just to be able to unlock these memories. And I feel like, because when I see the people on these panels, you guys inspire me in the amount of empowerment that you have, the amount of knowing you have. And I feel the more you do this work and the more you claim parts of yourself, the more in your mission and in power you become, right? So what would happen if humanity collectively was able to remember, right? How empowered could we be is the question.
Wow.
Right? It's exciting. So let's go to Lori, and then we're going to go to you after Joan, because I want to hear you and your connection to the angels and how it got into the ET. So let's go to Lori first. Hey, Lori.
Hey. Yeah, so in keeping with the question, my so-called awakening or remembering happened almost 20 years ago now. I was living in Maui at the time, and I was studying with a very progressed teacher who spent most of his life living in the Himalayan mountains and learning things like teletransportation and levitation and elevating into mountaintops. And so I was studying with him, and one of the things he would teach us was to meditate through the evening and not sleep. And so I was one night sitting on the golf course behind my house and where I lived, Galani, and there was a ship. It was the first time I'd ever seen a ship. This was so many years ago. I knew nothing about the extraterrestrial history or any of that. I had no knowledge. I just knew that somewhere in the future, something called 2012 was coming and everyone was going to wake up, or something good was supposed to happen. And I thought these ETs were here to help us. And I really knew nothing back then about it. And, but I saw the ship and I knew it was a ship because it was so low and it was a circling light, very low to the ground. And I was already doing and engaging in telepathic communication with animals quite easily. I was already connecting with beings who, in a sense, were what we call dead, because my brother had crossed over, transitioned, and he was my divine wake-up call. And then the animals started teaching me. So I already had those gifts. So I just mentally, without any real effort, just said to that ship, like quite naively, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. It was just almost embarrassing, right? But nothing really happened immediately, but I just stayed in a meditative state on the back porch. It was 2:00 in the morning. There's no airplanes in Maui at that time at 2:00 in the morning. All the airports were closed at that time, at least back then. So I was in a meditative state, but I was physically awake and alert. And within some short period of time, I wasn't measuring. I was teletransported on ship. I found myself on the ship. I was freaked, but at the same time, not freaked, because there is something that changes in the emotional and mental body when that happens. It's like a plasma-like state. It's physical and yet not physical. It's like plasma-like state. It's different kind of photonic speed of light happening. Mm-hmm. And so I was on ship. I started engaging with these beings. There was a lot of interaction and I had full movement, and I got to see and meet a lot of these beings. And of course, I had to do a certain amount of regressions over the years to unpack it. But essentially, I was there for some period of time. I had some experiences with them. And then I remember specifically being asked, I was walking around the ship and I was asking, like, what's behind there or what's there? And at one point, one of the beings on the ship said, that's where we keep our children. do you want to go back there? And I said, no, I want to go. She said, good, because I was one of those. That was me. So her saying good was her, like, I didn't identify as the child from back there. I identified as the person who belonged on Earth. And as soon as I said, I want to go back home, she said, that way. I went through a door that opened and I was back on my porch.
Wow.
So, and after that, I'll just say, for at least in memory, it must have been at least another month after that, I was getting constant, like what I call downloads and transmissions of patterns of geometry and lights and all kinds of things. And I would ask every night, like, what is this? What is this? And I was always told, you'll know when the time comes. And of course, now I understand. And over the years, doing DNA activations for people and animals and working with all the genetic coding and all of our own light and all of the gifts that are available to us as a human species. Those are part of what I was getting. And my ability to share this with others and to teach others and to facilitate it for the awakening for others, that was part of it. But I just want to add one other piece, was that the next morning, after I really had a sleep because after that, I was just like, what the? I remember the next morning waking up, and I didn't really know anyone on Maui. I spent, for the most part, 2 years alone, for the most part. And I remember being in my car and like driving to this space where I used to go, and I was just enraged. I was furious. I knew that there was an implant put in there. I was so enraged because I was just like, how could you do this? Like, what am I supposed to do with all this? Like, so it was a lot of work to unpack all of that. It wasn't like this graceful, like, it's sort of sometimes, we can sometimes glorify all of it. And yes, it comes with incredible gifts, but to me, they were hard earned. They weren't just like, oh, I'm in the light all of a sudden. It was a lot of work and a lot of, yes, ongoing unpacking and making sense of it all, and like working with these codes and this light and this from the space of consciousness. And sometimes we make it sound a little glamorous or something. I don't know if it seems that way to some people, but I don't think that's the case. But what I do think is that the purpose of the star seeds in general is to be able to anchor in certain virtues and gifts and consciousness that was just, in a sense, it was like lost to the original. It's never been truly lost to the original organic human design. It's in there, but it's just been so manipulated over eons of time from what we might call negative aliens, that we have to restore that, reawaken it, replenish it, rebirth it, renew it, remember it. So anyway.
Right. So are you saying that the integration process isn't always, rainbows and unicorns, because it's a whole restructuring of our belief systems and a reclaiming? So do you think you're still integrating some of that?
I think it's an eternal process, personally, because I don't think the starseed, the true starseed mission, from my perspective, is one of unification with the divine. It's a spiritual mission. So that's eternal. That never stops,
Right.
And yeah, it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. I mean, some of the mind-blowing stuff that you have to work through especially in the early phases of like trying to discern what's real. And I think this is part of what we're going to see in the upcoming phase of this Pluto that now has moved into Aquarius. And over the next 20 years, there's going to be so much of this kind of like, what is real anymore? Because we're moving out of reality as we've known it and into the space age, really, where we're going to be interacting with more and more, extraterrestrial and other planetary off-planet beings and other species. And so, there's going to be so much of that collective unpacking. What is real? What's really real? So that was part of the most difficult part of it, because when I was going through it, I'm living alone in Maui. I didn't know anybody. Well, did I not know anybody? I remember at one point, and I'll be quiet after this, but my father was like, I need you to see a doctor. Like, that's the whole thing in the early days they used to say, is like, don't tell anybody, they'll think you're crazy. And that was like what was happening to me in a sense, Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
And what's real is, yes, I mean, at this point of everything I'm learning, I'm still every single day thinking the same question myself. You know,
Right. Right.
like, I'm really deep into holographic simulation theory at this point, which I feel is a fact because we're subatomic particles vibrating in and out of reality. Like, what is physicality, right? What is all of this?
Right.
And that's actually quantified and provable. Yet
Right.
people don't think about it. There's so many question elements that are provable, but we don't have the bandwidth in our consciousness or time in our days to even contemplate these questions.
Mhm.
So
Right.
let alone beings landing, then what is the next question, right?
Right. I mean, that's one of the most wonderful things about really cultivating the relationship with the divine. Because as we cultivate our unique relationship with the divine, everything is so easily, actually discernment from that space becomes much easier because it's always
Right.
about aligning with the highest,
Connection.
clearest, purest truth that is the divinity, that is the divine source, the original source of consciousness. And that's where, from my perspective, absolute truth lies. And there's not a lot of absolute truth. Most of these frequencies are just consciousness perspectives.
Yeah.
But aligning with absolute truth, which is just so magnificent.
Okay,
That
that's a
comes
good
through
one.
through the
I wrote
sacred.
that. We'll ask that question later. We're going to talk about truth in a little bit. So let's jump to Joan of Angels herself. And Joan, I want you just to kind of tune into everything you heard here. Let us know your thoughts, and then I would love for you to explain your journey of connection with angels. And are these angels star beings, or is there another realm of angelic realm, and then the star being element came later? Because I know we've been having conversations about your Arcturian self lately as well. So, what are your thoughts, John?
Well, first of all, I think this is a fantastic question. And I really love hearing everyone's perspective and kind of your awakening. I started, I think it was in, 2008, when I first started going to more of these UFO conferences. I heard about Arcturians. I remember getting this book and going, oh my God, I think I'm an Arcturian. I think I'm an Arcturian. And I would have these experiences where I'd be walking and suddenly I'd find myself on a ship and in the control room in the ship. And for a long time, when I first started to feel that, I would be in that ship. And when I came to your conference in 2012, and I picked up my tall white star being who communicated to me all the time, I really began to really feel more in alignment with extraterrestrial. But my real deep connection has always been to the angelic realms. And I feel like Joan of Angels, Joan of Arc, there's a certain angelic component that I have always had. And when I was told to paint 33 angels in 30 days, and I began to paint and I began to feel wings and I began to feel one with that tribe. And I even began to feel like I looked like an angel, like, that Starseed article you read. They don't talk about people who feel like they're angelic, people who feel such a strong connection that they have wings and that they literally are here to help humanity as well. And so I feel, that for me, I know that I am angelic and I'm also Arcturian, and they may play out at different times. But I also believe that they come from the high level realms where they do their work. They do different kinds of work. And, we see pictures of the Anunnaki with wings. And so having wings is not just exclusive to the angelic realms either.
Yeah, beautifully said. And a lot of times those wings also represent light ships, different beings coming in here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else may also have a different opinion with the angelic realms. But I do believe that I've come in and I've been told this, that I'm a connector between the heavens and the earth. And I feel my most present when I hold that energy.
Right, right. And I feel that's what our kind of like, because the next question, I want to go deeper and kind of do a different thing than what we do most of these panels, and find some questions that will really just like unfold even more depth of like, how can we cultivate connection moving forward with ourselves first, and then the rest of the world, and then also what this new world can look like. So what I want to start with is, I think it would be really interesting to know, what you believe, each of you guys believe that your specific mission is on this planet right now in this moment. So I'm just going to say how we're going to do this. We'll go with Jenna first, Sheila, Lori, and then Geraldine. So go for it, Jenna.
Okay, so the first part of my mission was being a leader of change and transformation at Whole Foods. And that has now transitioned into helping humans transform into the new human. So my star family, as I was waking up and as I was starting to contemplate, well, what is my mission? I got told very specifically that I was to leave Whole Foods and that I was to go down a path of shamanic study and very specific spiritual and transformational practices that do, what Lori was talking about, DNA activations and the energy work that helps us upgrade and transform our energy field, and as part of that, the shadow work, right? And the reprogramming and really looking deeply at, where are we holding, the distortion and the collective trauma and the ancestral trauma that humans have, carried for thousands of years now. So my current mission as part of Star Family Wisdom is, presenting a mystery school and programs and courses and these transformational tools that help people literally do that transformation work and literally at a cellular DNA level turn on the light codes of the new human, because that's what we're here to do. That's what all star seeds are here to do right now. And even if you are a star seed, your human, your human suit, your biology, right, is carrying all of the stuff that came before us here on Earth. And so we're here to do that work, to clear it and shift it and transform it. And so the mission that I now know as part of my time here on Earth is to help as many people as possible move through that process. Because like Lori was saying, it's not easy. Transformation's hard, and it's something we as humans naturally resist a little, because it pushes us out of our comfort zone. It's gonna get uncomfortable. We've got to face our fears, right? All of that stuff comes with transformation. And so, having some structure, and support and these like initiation processes that help people step by step go through that transformation is what my mission is now. And to share as an open book and be as transparent as possible about my transformation and what that awakening was like, and what I've had to face as part of that. And for anyone who's interested, by the way, on I think April 4th, a podcast episode is coming out where I share my entire regression from last year, and you get to hear me relive this contact with mantis beings and gray beings as a child, and you get to hear me relive remembering time on a ship before I came into this body. And so I share that regression because it's not like the most comfortable thing to listen to, because I'm in tears for the first part of it as I'm releasing trauma that my child human self was carrying. But I think it's important that we just peel back the layers and pull back the curtain on some of that, because I think that's like the level of transformation that we need to be going through, and we need the ability to face whatever we're carrying, and we need the ability to be able to face some of the darkness that is on the planet, and find a way to shift that, right? And find a way to call back our power and, reclaim our soul memories and all of that. So I share the regression for people who are just waking up, or people who think they're star seeds, or people who might think they have suppressed memories, that need to come out, because that's part of our transformation is uncovering all of that and learning then how to transmute, right? And how to transform, what has been in the shadows into gifts and into light. So transformation and helping everyone become the new human is the mission.
It's so interesting how much how much trauma there is beyond this life, right? In other realities. And as we remember these lives, we're able to bring peace to those existences as well, right? And I feel like it's almost like we're not able to go into this next dimension with the baggage that we've created from these
Right.
traumas, right?
Right. It's like we've got
So
to
it's,
clear the karma. Like
yeah.
and we're all carrying lots of it, you know. And so we've got to do that hard work to raise our vibration, transform it, and carry literally the energy of heaven on earth. Like that's our goal. That's what we're here to do.
Hmm. Sheila, how about you? What is your mission?
So actually my mission is to be a way shower and to help people prepare for this time that we're in. And that information came to me very early on during a shamanic journey, and my guides came to me and they explained first off what a mission was and what I was to do. And ever since then, everything in my life has been dedicated 100% to my mission. If I'm not on mission, I'm not doing it. And so I've been very blessed to have a lot of doors open to help me achieve this. And, when I was first told to be a way shower, I thought I had to be a way, that I had to be the way shower. And I didn't realize that also meant opening up and bringing other people in. And so in developing the Conscious Awakening Network and developing the Galactic Alliance and bringing other people's voices to the table, like right now, Phil's running Cosmic Conversations for me. And so I feel like the more voices that are heard, the more information that's shared, the more resonance gets out. And I think that is what being the way shower is getting that resonance out and helping people wake up. And Jenna, it's so funny you're talking about not carrying the karma through, because my healing team just recently gave me an entirely new healing modality where I work on what they call the ley lines of the body. And when they first came, I'm like, oh, you mean the meridians? And they're like, no, the ley lines. I mean, oh, well, we call those the meridians. And they're like, no, the ley lines. And so they started showing me all these various ley lines and how we actually have these 12 layers of the body and all of these different things. And I did some sessions with people today that were able to release trauma that they had carried in from their galactic lives. They had incarnated into families that would actually provide those trigger points to bring up that trauma so they could heal it, so that they could move forward to newer and higher levels, so they didn't have to carry that. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Wow. Jenna, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think that's just amazing, Sheila. Like there's so many healing modalities that can be employed to peel back all these layers. And I love how you talked about layers, because that's how I think of it is, it's just layer after layer after layer of stuff, of programming, of trauma, of experiences that put us in a position to react to life or have certain behaviors or whatever it is. And I think, like Lori said, it's an eternal journey. We're as souls, we're going to be on this journey forever in terms of our evolution and transformation, but it's just about peeling back layer after layer after layer after layer until we get to that state of truth within us, that state of just like true alignment, and like balancing the masculine and feminine energies. I was recently guided to a new modality too, which I'm going to talk about at the conference in April. So a little teaser there for folks, but there's so many, I think, that are now like coming into our consciousness because we're at a point where we can understand it and we can hold it and like work with it in a new way, it feels like.
Definitely. It's that 0 point, right? That we're getting to that sense of stillness. And then modalities, yes. So there's so many modalities and there's so many more coming out. And there's many that are available that we aren't even aware of yet, that are coming into conscious now. And I know you, Lori, you do DNA activations and other types of modalities with energy healing. So Lori, what do you feel is your mission, and what kind of modality do you go towards? Like, out of all the modalities you have, what is the one modality that you love to utilize the most that helps people release that trauma to get to that stillness?
Well, I just want to say first, in terms of my mission, I think in my early part of my life, it was more about showing people what was possible. And I still think that's a huge part, because I find that in my experience as just as a light worker, that I'm always demonstrating to people, like sometimes without even demonstrating to people how what's presented in the physical world is not the limitations that we have, that we can go way beyond those limitations. So those perceived limitations of the external reality. So I think that's a big part of it. But overall, I would say my mission and purpose is to serve the light. I'm very clear about that. And I think that a lot of people don't always understand that. And I think it's also very lost a lot of times. It's one of my major gripes in the whole kind of conspiracy circle, and even in sometimes extraterrestrial type of circles or UFO circles sometimes, is that they're not necessarily serving the light. And I don't think that people always realize, and I don't necessarily know that people realize what the difference is between serving the light, serving the dark, or being, just serving the ego, serving the self, or just serving the greater good, which that's awesome too. There's necessarily no judgment between them, but I do think that people don't necessarily realize or know who or what they're serving. And it's not, the dark is not necessarily evil. The dark is constriction, contraction, resistance. The dark is staying small, stuck, or keeping us in the old paradigm. The light is expansion, right? And there is a plan for lighted creation. There really is a supreme type of consciousness that we identify as source, God, creator, the divine, however we relate and understand and integrate with that consciousness. But it has a plan for lighted creation, and that plan is of the light. That plan is in service to the collective, to the expansion of consciousness. And in order to truly serve the light, one must be aligned fully, wholly, and completely with the light and its agenda. And one must be continuously choosing to sort of release or disalign or disalign with that egoic structure that is in what we call fourth dimensional reality, that serves the self or serves egoic structure, or in some way gets pushed or swayed about between constriction, contraction, and expansion, or all the variants in between there. So for me, when you ask what is my purpose here, my purpose now really is to bring in the light and to help people to understand that there is a plan of the light. There's a plan for lighted creation. There is an agenda of the light, and all of that is all about expansion, up-leveling, transformation for the collective of humanity to remember. So as a starseed, that is my agenda. That is what I'm here. The agenda of the light is for expansion. And I serve the light, and I align my desire to my desires to serve the light. And in so doing, I'm doing my best to support humanity. But in terms of tools, to answer the second part of your question briefly, what happens, and I think I did hear this as Sheila was speaking, what happens is, as we serve the divine and as we allow the divine to work through us, however we allow the divine to reveal itself through us, what really happens through that process is that it delivers to us exactly what we need to be the best expression of ourselves and to offer the gifts of the divine to those we serve. And so that always becomes like our unique gifts. And that's one of the other amazing things that's going to be happening, because Aquarius, one of the most amazing gifts of Aquarius as a sign, as an energy, is unique. The uniqueness and authenticity of those qualities associated with Aquarius. And so the Aquarian age is going to bring out our unique, authentic nature in each of us. And so when I'm using modalities, it's always the divine is showing, telling, teaching me, telling me what to do or what to share, or I'm always following the divine guidance that's coming through me. And so even though I have like a huge toolkit of healing modalities, it's always about, what does this being in front of me, or this situation, circumstance, or scenario, what is it calling for right now that the divine is meant to bring through?
Yeah. I could feel the light through my body as you were speaking, Lori.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And I know Geraldine was nodding her head quite a bit there. So love for you to share, Geraldine. But before you share, I want to talk about the regression you gave me, Geraldine, in August. Geraldine gave me my second regression ever. My first regression was 2008, when I wasn't even fully aware of, all the information I'm aware of now. And in that moment, a lot of memories came back to me, and we haven't really had a conversation about that since then. But I did another regression with Bridget Holiday a few months later, where it picked up from the regressions that we were doing, and we started visiting the planets that I was visiting with the regression that you facilitated from me, and I had locations and coordinates of the planets that came to me as well. And so for me, it's just a remembrance, a beginning of my remembrance of actually my ET connection, and the star families that I feel a resonance with are only coming into my life right now. For the last 4 months, it's been a nonstop download, if you will, of these memories coming back and feeling that I have my support team with me. And so I just want to say thank you, Geraldine, for facilitating that experience in San Diego. Hopefully I can share with you, more of what happened to me after that.
Cannot wait to hear it. Thank you so much. So should I share now or
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you. First of all, I love this is a perfect segue because you asked what is the mission, and precisely when I deprogrammed my own DNA, I began to activate my interdimensional. So we deprogram DNA, you deprogram matrix programming. Everything that you come into the ancestral lineage in the human third dimensional realm, you begin to deprogram all of that, and you begin to enter into the 0 point. And that's where you begin to activate this interdimensional DNA, essentially. And what happens by that is that you have to learn how to harness and hold, cultivate higher bands of frequency in order to begin to access this higher information. So like Sheila was saying, that she began to activate many ranges of her ET contact, archetypal aspects of herself, different species. Same thing happened to me. I know it happens to many of my contactees as well. And when I began to open these layers within my interdimensional DNA, I began to get invitations or perhaps activate contractual agreements, memory encoded in that ancestral DNA, intergalactic DNA. So there were channeled information, technologies, information, ancient wisdom of our history of the world, of the universe, of the galaxy, physics and science, math of how this universe functions. And what I discovered after receiving these overload of information, essentially, is that if we get attached to any one of those levels of information, we kind of reach a ceiling and we get a cap. We get a cap on our ascension if we identify with any one of these streams of consciousness. So what I discovered as a result of that is that my purpose really is not to align with any one of these streams of consciousness, but to integrate and become the 0 point in order to harness and access all of them simultaneously and at the time that it's necessary for this information to be applied. Because those of you that are way showers, you're aligning to higher octaves in advance to the most of the population in order to bring and channel and show how to hold that vibrational frequency in the body. That's essentially what all healing is that we're activating that. So when I think of purpose, I used to think, oh, I have a purpose, but now the purpose is to become as clear as a channel, to release identity to anything. There is nothing external, essentially, that will promote and support this mission. It all has to come from the cultivation of my own self. And that is the example that I hope to hold for others in walking through their ascension, and their integration process. So my healing modalities are constantly changing, and they're molding to the spirit and the soul that is required at that time. And I guess when, through resonance, when you change your frequency, it changes and activates their DNA without you even having to do anything. You're holding space, and the other human aligns to that. And that becomes, we, as a vortex that we begin to rotate at a higher vibrational frequency. So this is how I would describe it.
Beautiful, Geraldine. And what you're saying there is, you said a lot of things, but one thing that I took out of that as well was contact starts from within.
Exactly,
looking at the
absolutely.
internal world.
We're
Right.
activating our holographic DNA, which is our interdimensional memory
Yeah.
of everything that we have been and everything that we are becoming. So
Right.
that 0 point allows us to navigate interdimensionally, infinitely beyond the human physical form.
Yeah. So it's almost like it's quite literal, like not figurative, but literal, that the universe is a reflection of the internal world.
Yes,
Right.
totally.
And my friend Siren Michael White, who we have on our platform quite a lot, in his story he shares about how he was looking for contact and looking into space, looking for UFO craft and attempting to connect with different beings externally. And then, one day he just realized that he just began meditating and getting into the meditative world. And from meditating, he started seeing whole entire worlds and consciousness by going within himself. So
Right.
the 0 point is within us. The 0 point is the black hole. It's the wormhole to other worlds, and
That's
it's
right.
all within. So
It's through the DNA. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
beautiful. Joan, how about you? What is your mission, Joan?
Wow, that's so, just to listen to everyone else and how you came to it, it's quite an awakening because we all have our own story. So when I'll just go back to a long time ago. I was 30 years old and I went to this visioning workshop and I laid down there and suddenly I found myself in front of millions of people who needed healing and inspiring. And I was with this angel. That's how I kind of know I'm already angelic. And this angel said, "These are your people. You're here to heal and inspire." And of all the messages I've ever gotten, that's the one that has stayed with me, as I'm here to heal and inspire and teach and help people remember that they're masters, to help people remember why they came here and to hold the light. I mean, most important, we all came to hold this light. And we all came to remember that we hold this light. If we don't, and it's not about whether you're a doctor, lawyer, or an Indian chief. So my whole life has been really geared to that. And I've discovered that it changes. How I work with people changes over the years. I mean, I started off as a chiropractor and discovered I could just heal people just by holding energy. And now I align body, mind, and spirit in different points just energetically because the guides say, do this, do that. And I do it and it works. And sometimes there's no name for it except maybe Joan's system that just came to me and was brilliant because it was right for that person in that right moment. And I know all of you and I know how you all work. And we respond to, really, it's not the method, it's really, it's the channeled information that's so direct for each person that we all work with. And the gift of being a starseed and an angelic being is that you're tapped into what other people need, and you're tapped into this energetic, especially of healing. And the big theme is that all of us came to be of service to humanity in some way, shape, or form.
Right. That's one of the many reasons I'm grateful for you, Joan, is what you started out with there. You're here to help people remember. And it's great to have you on the team, be working with you so closely, because I get so boggled down with the details sometimes and the mapping and the planning and the structure, just to have that reminder pretty much daily at this point.
I have to tell people what happens.
Right.
Neil
We'll be having conversations, logistical conversations with like speakers and people we're going on tour with, and then we're like getting really like heavy with the information. Then all of a sudden, Joan just like says, "Guys, I just want you to know what we're doing right now. We're going around the world activating mystery schools, and we've been destined to do this for so many lifetimes." And so bringing that remembrance and that element is what you spoke about earlier, heaven to earth. The details are here on earth, but the intention, the reason why we're doing this, we should never lose, right? Keep that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Why we've been connected. I mean, it's really funny with Neil and I because it'll come at the most random moment. But I do believe that we're here to help uplift the planet, and we're all of us together too. Like let's talk about the conference. The people who are going to be at our conference, there's 6 of us here, but we multiply it by 5 times the vibration of people. When we're with people aligned on the same path, it raises the frequency of everyone in the room, everyone around, and even for miles around. And we together all of us together have a soul mission to actually lift up humanity and remind humanity who they are. We all do it differently, but we're going to come together and do it together And that I find very exciting, like this whole memory that Neil and I bring of why we're even doing it. And it comes out from the very beginning.
Yes, and it's a beautiful segue because your intuition kicked in right there because I literally have the trailer lined up to talk about it, and that's something I was on an interview with Karen Swain yesterday, and we're talking about what's happening at this event, and yeah, it's all different forms and facets of remembrance. All these different individuals coming, sharing their own perspectives, creating an epic bubble of remembrance, and we're gonna walk into that vibration, celebrate connection with each other, celebrate life, and at the same time re-educate ourselves and unlock our ancient memories so that we can actually reclaim our sovereignty and move forward and create unity and peace on earth. So what I want to do is right now I want to share the trailer, but this is how we're going to flow for the rest of this panel because we're almost at an hour, but there are two major questions I want to ask. So these are the questions I'm going to ask. I'm going to do the panel. We'll get into it. I want to know each of your opinions on the darkness, right? And so we're going to talk about what the darkness really is. And then I want to also talk about the question inspired by Lori earlier. Is there many truths or is there an absolute truth? And could those truths coexist? Right. So that's what we're going to get to in a minute here. So first, I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer. And this guy's San Diego, California, April 21st, 22nd, 23rd, in about 3.5 weeks from now, I think. And we're going to be in San Diego, the Marina Village Conference Center, right next to SeaWorld, like 4 minutes from SeaWorld. There's over 25 speakers there. We have 5 musicians, 3 days, nonstop awareness, amazing vendors. And, you know, I'll share the trailer right now and you can kind of see some of the amazing individuals that will be joining us. So here we go. After 3 years of having to produce the Portal to Ascension conference online, we have been waiting for this moment. The Portal to Ascension conference is returning live and in person. Join us at the Marina Village in San Diego, California, April 21st to 23rd, 2023. As massive shifts are happening on the planet and hidden truths are being uncovered, we are piecing together the fragmented parts of our existence and timeline. At Portal to Ascension, we are dedicated to full circle awareness of the truth of who we are and remembrance of our connection to the cosmos. This is showtime. There is no holding back. Now is the time for us to harmonize the frequencies and create unity and peace on Earth. We are deprogramming from an outdated matrix system, re-educating and remembering an inherent truth that connects us all. As we come together, we activate our truest potentials, individual gifts, and collective resolve. We are ushering a whole new reality that we know is possible and is waiting for us to embrace it. Join founder Neil Gore and the entire Portal to Ascension team with hosts Alan Steinfeld, Michelle Anderson, and Joan of Angels over these 3 days, April 21st to 23rd, 2023. We will experience musical performances by Larissa Stowe and the Shakti Tribe, Vox Angeles, Share the Light, Admiral Apollo, and Torquem G. This conference features incredible luminaries such as JJ and Desiree Hurtak, Adam Apollo, Carolyn Corey, Robert Schock, Linda Moulton Howe, Robert Edward Grant, Barbara Lamb, and many more. Register now at ascensionconference.com. It is time for humanity to awaken. It is time for us to wake up, everybody. And we can have fun doing it. Right, John?
Absolutely. You guys are some of my most favorite people. And I feel excited that I feel family, that we're a soul family coming together and calling in our tribe. So all of you who are listening, you know, you feel that call, we are there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want to also just do a shout out to our sponsors before we get back into the questions for this panel. And we have 2 of our sponsors here on the panel with us. And the third one is Tangela from Soul Search, soulsearch.io. And she can't make it. She's not feeling too well right now. But Soul Search is an online platform, which is a conscious directory that is also a community. It's kind of like a social media directory and videos, and also a place where you can search all around the world for practitioners to really help you with these modalities to not only empower you, but to help release trauma. And the other 2 sponsors, Jenna Layden from Star Family Wisdom and Sheila Seppi from Galactic Alliance. And actually, before we get back into the questions, Jenna and Sheila, Jenna, you can go first. Just give us a couple of minutes really quick, just about, what Star Family is and what you guys offer. And then also you please as well, Sheila.
Sure. So Star Family Wisdom is a paradigm shifting podcast and modern day mystery school for your evolution. So we offer programs and courses and lots of resources, lots of free resources that support you in moving through your healing and transformation. I lead workshops and multi-week programs that take people through shamanic initiation and deliver rites that are energy transmissions that are designed to upgrade and transform your energy field, turn on that new DNA. We offer sacred geometry drawing by Nadi Hana, which is another incredible transformational tool. And then there's all sorts of other courses and programs that give you tools you can use at home on your own, and give you, the really holistic, well-rounded approach to transforming, not only our energy, but the mind and the body also.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Sheila, how about you? What is the Galactic Alliance?
Oh, well, the Galactic Alliance started out as the Wish Alliance for walk-ins, indigos, starseeds, and hybrids. And then we had people saying, well, wait a minute, I'm a dimensional being. Wait a minute, I'm an angelic being. Wait a minute, what about us? And so we changed our name to the Galactic Alliance to be much more inclusive. But what we are is a multidimensional conscious evolution movement. And we're for anyone who is seeking universal knowledge, spiritual growth, education, or community. We have what's called the Galactic Ambassadors. We have over 100 Galactic Ambassadors who provide a variety of services. Everything out there imaginable is being offered by our ambassadors. And so we also try to promote them as a way to really, get this information out. And so we do have 2 podcasts every night or every week, and that's on Monday and Thursday nights at 7 p.m. And so this is our way of also bringing outside sources to help educate our community.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sheila. And I feel truly blessed to have sponsors at this event that I actually want, the sponsors that I wanted to have at this event. So it's not like I had the sponsorship page and people reached out and I just said yes. It was a conversation with people I'm already working with. Jenna, Sheila, and Tangela are 3 people that I respect and admire so much and done such incredible work. And we work closely with each other. We do a lot of things with each other all the time. So this is really a family coming together to create this event and support each other. The amount of crossovers and layers that we all have with how we're supporting each other and how we work on each other's platforms is so numerous, and it's really exciting for me. So thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys, being there and being sponsors of this event. Okay, so let's get into some more questions, all right? And I know, because I actually have a lot of questions, but I know we don't have time for all of these. So we're going to do the 2 that I said, but there's one other one that I really want to know. Is the question, will we have open contact with the stars in our lifetimes? And what will that world look like? Just your own opinion, or, a lot of you guys actually communicate with these beings. So what kind of awareness and downloads are you receiving? And we'll start with you, Lori, then Sheila, Jenna, and then Geraldine, and then Joan.
Okay, so the question was, will we have open contact in
Yes.
physical?
And let's try to make these around 2 to 3 minutes tops in responses, so we can do some questions.
Well, what I want to say first is you need to understand, I think for every human on earth, if you're listening to this, chances are very likely yes. But for every human on earth, what we don't really understand, that we're just starting to begin to realize, is that reality conforms to us.
Yes.
So we're not really having one experience globally. Which is to say, so how does that relate to the question at hand? Is that for those people choosing it, desiring it, needing it, intending it, resonant with it, the answer is most likely yes. Because the soul's journey provides whatever experience is necessary, needed, required for the soul to advance and to progress and to grow and to evolve. And so for people who are resonant with this concept of starseed and wanting to know more about star family races and wanting to uncover and discover their own star family connection or their star origins or their original star planet or any variation of that, the chances are incredibly high. And at the same time, as a collective, our the agenda for the light does involve intergalactic, we're moving beyond this matrix of reality where we're just this single planet existing in the middle of space with nothing else around. That's like, so the evolution of our humanity as a collective is moving into that reality. So as beings are ready for that experience and resonant for it, they will have it.
Thank you, Lori.
My answer to that.
Sheila.
Beautiful. I loved what you said, Lori. And I have to say, just look around. We're already here. I have to say, because I'm part of a collective and I'm constantly, receiving that information. I have been on ships. I have had contact. And I think that the reality of it is, just like you said, Lori, we do live kind of almost in a split reality, because as our consciousness raises, we're able to see all of those dimensions below us. And that's what's happening. We live in the 3D, but our consciousness can be 4, 5, 6, 7D. But if you're just in a 3D with that 3D consciousness, nothing is really happening. And so you hear all these people talking about these experiences and, wow, man, this is really great. And I saw a ship and, yada, yada, but nothing's happening with them. They really can't grasp what we're saying. And so I think that there really is a splitting of the timeline. Will it actually happen in our lifetime? As I said, I believe it's already happening. Will it happen on a large scale? I think it already is. And I think that it's up to all of us to determine really when that's going to happen, when we have that mass consciousness, that pivotal point that we as a society open up and vibrate at a frequency that's going to allow all of that contact to come in. That's when I think it'll happen.
Right. And you were saying earlier about us shifting timelines constantly, yes. Right? So it's almost like we're at a point now where any of these timelines we can choose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. And there's this CIA project called Project Looking Glass, I believe it was, where they were able to see into the future. And after a certain date, sometime not within the last few years, they weren't able to see anything beyond that date, right? And to me, that goes in alignment with that anything is possible at this point,
Yes. Absolutely.
So, just one more comment on that before we get to Jenna. In the Starseed news that we spoke about in the beginning, like when NBC was talking about the Starseeds here to awaken the planet and help humanity, help humanity transform and be enlightened. That to me showed the splitting of the worlds, because the answer of one of the hosts was, "Well, look at the planet right now. I don't see that happening, right?" But little does he know that we have communities, we have all these individuals that get together, we have people living their best lives and their and being the beacons of light, and we have entire communities and villages that have been created off the grid around the world that are living this. So people are doing this right now, and that was just a mirror reflection to me of like, yes, they just don't realize it. They're not in that world. We're in two separate worlds, right? Jenna, how about you?
I love all this, first off, and I agree with everything that has been said so far. And, while we are, experiencing different versions of reality for ourselves individually, we're also living in this collective reality, and the collective has to evolve as a collective, right? Like that is important for the evolution of Earth and humanity. And so, I think there's something around the point where humanity moves through the darkness, like once, and this maybe is a segue to one of your questions, Neil, once we've moved through a significant amount of that shadow work as a collective, then actual big open contact will occur, because it is happening, right, for different humans in different ways. It's been happening, for thousands of years for different humans in different ways. But we are at the precipice, right, of entering the galactic community. And that's why we're here, to help prepare humans for that. And, humans need to wake the F up, pardon my language, like that. That's why, we're here. So there is going to be a point, I think, where, it has to happen, whether we're ready or not. And so we're getting really close. And I think we are going to experience something really, extraordinary in our lifetimes. And I think it's just a really awesome, like, outcome of all of this work we're already doing, and all of the star seeds and humans that are, turning on their memories, moving through the darkness one by one by one. And that's just creating this ripple effect. And, once that ripple effect, broadens, as far as it can across the globe, I think we're gonna have that moment of reckoning, right? Like, because we haven't truly had that moment of reckoning on the planet yet, and it's coming, because we're moving into an era where it has to happen.
Yeah. Once we release these triggers, and it comes down to the inner work, right? And Geraldine, that's what you've been doing for so long, is really assisting people with doing the inner work. And with your Bay Area meditation group, I think that was before you even fully woke up.
Yes.
Even before you were into all of this on this level, you were assisting people in going within, right? So what's your take on all this?
Yes. Well, what I've been seeing, and many of us have been seeing over the past many years, that, the way that this multiverse is moving, we're literally the frequency of this organism. Imagine the Earth as an organism. We are the little human organisms that participate like cells of this organism. And then the Earth is like an organism inside of the universe, and as above, so below, continuously until you see the multiverse. And as we move through a higher octave of vibrational frequency, right now we're at the pinnacle point of that shift, which means that everything is speeding up frequency, which means that the veil is thinning. That allows us to access into these interdimensional realms. But our entire biology, the construct of our bodies, is designed, this bioelectrical system that we have in our bodies is designed in order to match these vibrational frequencies and access that information. So I love what Lori said, that we are requesting, we have to request that information, because that's exactly how this occurs. We input into the system what we want to experience, and the system plays back that experience for us. So this is very much, so essentially it is in our hands, and we have to be mindful of the directions that we're moving on, because again, because we're such an interconnected system, maintaining harmonious balance inside of our organism will be reflected externally. But anytime that we, even us in the spiritual community, that we come out of balance in our own self, we cause ripple effects in the system. It's all a learning experience. Neither of us have only one purpose, because the purpose is to experience, and we have infinite things that we're here to experience, essentially. But I do believe that because of this mechanism that's occurring, we will experience collectively another major awakening, just the way that the past 2 years have been a pandemic that forced a lot of people to wake up consciousness in such a powerful way, to question the routines and the dormant states of hypnosis that they were in. We're going to be progressively experiencing things like that, maybe small little amounts, until we all shift in that frequency. And those that don't, of course, are right back into the reincarnation cycle. But we have to understand the ebb and flow of life force, this natural cycles of life that participate.
Mm-hmm. And Joan, how about for you? What do you feel is going to happen in this life? And and I say this question loosely because I'm not about predicting the future. I just want to know your opinions, and then let's segue that into this next question, Joan. So that, and then also, what is the darkness to you? And here's the disclaimer, okay? There is no right answer, first of all. And the darkness, I'll just give my perspective. I feel honestly the darkness works for the light, and that without the contrast of the duality of darkness, it's hard for us with amnesia to remember the light. So it's actually working for us. But then there are those that are completely invested in what the darkness is doing, and call it as evil. But the way I feel this world works and this game works is the only way you can act in a movie is to believe that the evil person is evil. Even though ultimately you're both actors, and then after the show, you're probably going to go out and have a drink together, you know? So so it's okay. It's a paradox. It is and it isn't at the same time. So Joan, go for it. You're muted.
I'll start with this. I think I just read recent statistics, 69 or 70% of people around the world believe that ETs and aliens exist, and angels. So it's not a matter, when we talk about disclosure, that you're saying the government should tell us that what we see is true. And, I'm not really for that. I really believe that each and every one of us, especially us, have our own contact and actually have our own reality about it. But getting back to maybe the general population, whether or not they're going to land on the White House lawn again, are they going to show up for us more? Yes, I think so. But I also believe that it's already happened. It has already happened. Even people I never thought would ask me, who thought I was crazy, are now asking about it. Plus, think of all the films and the way the government is planting these seeds of it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And who knows how it's going to happen. But we do know that we are privileged to have it already happening for us. Now, on the subject of dark versus light, Neil and I have constant conversations about it all the time, because I don't necessarily buy in. I don't like to believe, the darkness serves the light. Well, it does. I think we all come in and having to make a choice of whether we serve the dark or the light. And I think that the dark side has such a good hold on keeping people from doing the light. So to me, the dark comes in a way that we have to learn where we stand and whether or not we are going to step up into our power. And so much of what happens that I would call dark and evil has also forced me to know who I am and what I call in and what I stand for, if that makes sense. There is a counterpoint. I think that as much as we want to live our soul purpose, there's an agenda that they don't want us to accomplish what we're going to do in this ascension timeline we're on. And so there is a game that goes on between dark and light, whereas the light, we want to get there first, I think, for sure. That's kind of my first thoughts on it.
Thank you, Joan. How about you, Geraldine?
So the way that we exist in this three-dimensional realm, duality is part of the design, the architecture of this construct. So without the dark, it cannot create the pool and the friction that allows this evolution to occur, essentially. The darkness essentially is one of the most powerful things that the human has. And the moment that we become friends with the unknown, because the darkness is the unknown, we cannot see, we cannot understand it. So when we become friends with that unknown, the human can activate and access higher octaves of information, higher faculties in their body for navigation that transcend the biophysical aspects of navigation. So we are learning, and many ancient cultures have been training how to navigate the unknown internally by alchemizing fear into love, and essentially learning how to cultivate a 0 point of neutrality and non-judgment of anything. You don't compartmentalize good or bad. And that creates health in the body. That's scientifically understood. And it's the same in dream state. If you learn how to alchemize and bring yourself into a neutral state, non-judgment in dream state, or when you're out of body or having ET contact, you also activate higher octaves of faculties. And essentially, we are learning how to train ourselves at the time of death, that when we die, when we leave the physical body, we learn how to navigate that unknown, that greater unknown. Essentially, it's about becoming one. And in that white light, remember that white light, when you refract it, it's every single color of the spectrum. It is that expansion and contraction, the white hole and black hole that makes up this physical body and the architecture of all potential experiences. So I don't feel that there's either good or bad. It is we require both. We're experiencing both.
Thank you, Geraldine. I think it's important to have this question because there's a lot of craziness going on the planet. A lot of agendas and maliciousness have happening, and anger. You know, when I woke up in 2000, I spent 8 years of conspiracy theories. I was like so in fear in 2008. I even had, when the swine flu came out back then, I had a gas mask and everything. I was ready to go. I was so in fear. And just looking back at that and just realized that a lot of people do go through, when I share that story with people, a lot of people are like, oh, that's how I started out. Not everybody comes from the fear part first, but when they realize that what we've been told is a lie and the systems are, have been created in order to exert control on us, and they're ciphering our energy and they're poisoning us with all these foods and chemicals, people get angry. But as Jenna and many of you have spoke on, is we need to do the inner work to get to a place of 0 point and neutrality and non-reaction in order for us to even inherit this new world, right? So I feel it's an important conversation to have just on darkness. And I am actually planning to do some panels specifically on darkness, and even a whole series on just reptilians. And just to have those conversations, just to kind of share different perspectives and get us to a place where we don't have anger for them. And it's not like if we let go of the anger, we no longer take action to change it. I feel when you come from a place of neutrality, you're able to take even more action that isn't triggered reaction in order to change something for the better, right? So those are my thoughts on why I'm even asking this question here. So Lori, go ahead.
Well, I love this question. I think this conversation is not had enough. So thank you for asking. It's like such an amazing conversation. First, I just want to clarify for definition, because I think people don't understand and they mix the two up. Dark is not the same thing as evil. So let's get clear about this. Dark is potential. It's pure potential. That's all it is. It's pure. It's a void. It's from which all can come through. So when we say even the sacred neutral or the divine neutral, or Geraldine referred to neutrality, that's because from that neutral space, there is no, yes, it is the unknown. It's pure potential. So there's nothing bad in the dark. There's nothing at all negative in the dark. There's nothing evil in the dark. That's not the same thing as evil. Evil, which many spiritual teachers believe foolishly that there is no evil. In my opinion, I know foolish, that sounds like a judgy word, but my point is that, in fact, according to God, source, creator consciousness, and this we can bridge with the concept of absolute truth from my perspective, from the perspective that I have downloaded or aligned with through my alignment with source, is that God's will is for free will to prevail, for humanity to have conscious free will and choice about what we experience. Because yes, we're here to experience, and we're here to have and choose experiences and to participate in experiences. So we have the right to choose what those experiences are. And so in a sense, God, source, creator's law is free will. And there are many universal laws that align with laws of physics, which are spiritual laws as well, that uphold and support that. So by definition, then, evil is the deliberate attempt to usurp free will, especially through means of secrecy, coercion, manipulation, and/or conspiracy, and other various ways. So that is evil. But evil is not necessarily of the dark. It simply is part of what exists in the duality of the experience. And so through our awakening journey and through the development of our own divine discernment, which we can develop by desiring truth, especially divine truth, it becomes easier to navigate what is evil and what is not, what is true and what is not true, because that's a gift of choosing to align with the light. That's a gift of choosing to align with the divine. That's a gift of choosing to become more conscious. The desire for discernment, the ability to have and utilize discernment and to understand what is evil and what is not through free will choice.
Beautifully said, Lori.
Yeah. Thank you. That was such a profound discovery for me. I have to tell you, through my own struggles, right? through my own desire to know truth, because of course that is such a quest right now. And I was always so I would struggle in the, you know, in the overlapping of conspiracy types of things, because, you know, there can be, I could go on about this, I won't go, but we can get lost. That is a black hole. It's a rabbit hole of its own. And if you go down that hole, you're making choices that actually align you potentially with evil, potentially, not in all cases, but in some cases, because it's like you're deciding to serve an agenda that serves what a part. When we talk about darkness, in some cases what we're talking about is constriction, contraction, because that the contraction is the uncertainty, the unfamiliarity, the I don't know, I'm not in the light of the expansion. The light is the expansion into greater consciousness. The dark provides the contrast for that. But so in the constriction of it, right, there is ultimately an expansion out of it. So this is how I arrived at this kind of consciousness, because I was in my own forms of constriction on this.
Yeah. Wow. And yeah, I think we'll get into this part later. Maybe we'll have another conversation. But when you said evil is not necessarily of the dark, you know, that's a whole other conversation we need to have right there.
It is a whole other conversation, because the light can use evil too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because, like, something I like to say these days is that, you know, if we all came from the oneness and we all came from the singularity, and duality came from the singularity, and duality was the light and the dark that eventually became lower and lower in density until it became this world where we even demonized a part of it. Do you think the singularity and the oneness judges one part of itself over the other? Or does it accept itself unconditionally? Did it split into two and say, I will only love half of myself, the rest of myself I hate? Or did we have the free will to choose to not like the other part of ourselves, and only when we embrace our shadow will we ever become one again? You know?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, because that is the highest, one of the highest truths, is that ultimately consciousness is divinely neutral. And that divine neutrality is fully, wholly, and completely in acceptance of all that is.
Yeah.
It is 100% accepting of all that is, with absolute zero judgment. There is no wrongness in any of it.
Right.
It's experiential. It's all about experience. You know, the expansion of consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Sheila, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, Lori, you took everything that I was going to say. And I say ditto. I love that, because I look at darkness as the void, the place of all possibilities. And also I look at it as duality, because it was one of the first movements, as I call it, one of the first movements of source, when that polarity became the infinity symbol, when that polarity became that yin and that yang, when it became the light and the dark. And you're right. Everything is about experience, everything we're doing. And so, you know, when I talk with people, or they're coming to me and they've got this shame, blame, guilt, and all of this stuff, it's like, you know, it's just an experience. Release that. Just let it go, because really on the other side, there is no right and there is no wrong. There just is. And we exist for source to experience through. And so this place of all possibilities, I think, is one of the most powerful places that there are, because it began with one of those first movements, that mitosis.
Exactly. Thank you, Sheila. Jenna, how about you?
I think it's also worth noting that because of the last yuga that we're coming out of here on Earth, humanity has experienced a more extreme experience of polarization, and there's been a proliferation of negativity on the planet, evil on the planet, and we're working to rebalance from that. So while, you know, duality and, you know, the good, the bad, you know, the light, the dark is a thing in our universe, you know, we want to find balance, right? And we've talked a lot about the neutrality point, and and how we understand these larger cycles can also help us in that. I think the cycle of birth and death is a natural part of our existence, right? And so we will always be going through cycles of destruction and entering into darkness, and we'll then be going through cycles of coming out of that darkness and experiencing a higher, more expanded state of being. So no matter where we're at individually, or what we're choosing to serve, that cycle is true for all of us. It's just a matter of understanding how we move through that cycle, and how we utilize those times in the darkness for our creative potential. There's so much work we do in shamanic practice around the womb space and womb clearing, and really understanding the womb as that place of darkness and that place of pure potentiality, and understanding the womb of creation. And even how we've got a lot of women here tonight, how we as feminine beings give birth to all of life, right? Like we hold an immense amount of power because of that dark space within us that is that pure potentiality. Men have connection to it too, of course. And so it's not about the human body, but it's about understanding that process of creation, and how we can work with it in a way that allows us to experience more of the light on this planet, right? Because we'll always experience some of that darkness, and like everyone I think here has said, it's nothing to be afraid of inherently, right? It's nothing to demonize in and of itself. It's just about understanding how that can be utilized for finding the gifts that are available to our souls, how we can utilize that time in the darkness to nurture and gestate the seeds of creation. And so there's a real power in understanding the darkness and understanding how to work with that darkness. And Neil, I want to just point out too, while we're here, you have an all women panel for the most part. Alan was with us at the beginning, and I'm talking about the rise of the divine feminine at the conference. And I think, part of us coming out of this period of darkness, or, some larger periods of negativity on the planet, is about understanding the feminine power of creation, and how darkness plays into that. And so I think it's really cool, one, that you've been bringing more of that divine feminine energy into your work and into how Portal to Ascension is evolving. And I think tonight's panel is just a cool example of that too.
Right. And I don't even plan these things out. It just happens organically. And, you said so many beautiful analogies there, Jenna. The womb being a portal, right? Because I'm sure there's not like a light bulb in there. It's kind of like dark, So and it is a portal, like, unless the soul is already in the woman, right? The baby soul, the soul comes from somewhere, and the womb is the portal for that soul to come through. It's almost like a wormhole, right? To come into this reality. And this takes me to Margaret Rigoloso's work that you are familiar with. And she speaks about an ancient priestess school, mystery school that existed, that they would do different types of rituals in order to choose where the soul would come from within the stars. And then, from what I could tell from her research, the only place this specific priestess mystery school was pulling from for thousands of years was from the Pleiades, right? And Jesus's mother, Mary, was also a part of that mystery school. And just 100 or 200 years before Jesus's birth, in ancient Greece, it was commonly known that the gods could actually give birth with women on Earth. It was like not a myth or a theory. It was like accepted that this happens all the time. And so it was just interesting to know what you were saying about the womb being a portal, and these souls come from it, from all over the place, and with intention, with conscious intent. And as we become the creators, move from victim to creatorhood, we can actually pull in specific traits, qualities, souls. That's my personal thoughts on all you were sharing.
Love it. Yeah. Divine conception, divine birth. It's a thing. It's a
Yeah.
thing. And we can get back there, like we can get back to a state where humans are so balanced and have purified their wombs, purified their energy to a point where we can do that sort of thing again in these really high level ways. And that's just one aspect, of working with the womb. There's a lot there that we're just remembering, and that's been in the darkness for us, right? And we're bringing that, into the light again.
Exactly. And the whole divine feminine concept, like what is the divine feminine has multiple traits, but one trait of the feminine compared to the masculine is the receptive force compared to the penetrative force. The masculine is the penetrative force, the feminine is the receptive. In this world, and I take this into the words of human being compared to human doing. We are human beings. We can receive nature and flow through it with effortlessly being a part of nature, or we can be kind of fighting against it and feeling that we need to perform. So I feel the balance is coming now for us to stop being these human doings and start being human beings, so that we can have a perfect balance and move forward with that, marriage of the two divine energies, really, right? Yeah. Okay. So we are almost done, guys. And I think we will do one more question. Is that okay with you guys? Just one more? Okay. So this is the question that I spoke about earlier about truth compared to absolute truth. So I've had many conversations with people where at the end of not really an argument, but a conversation where we disagree, it's almost like someone says that, well, there are many truths out there. That's kind of the end result of the conversation, that there's so many different truths, you can't really come up with one truth. But to me, I personally feel there is a cosmic truth. There is an absolute truth. So I want to know your guys' perspective on, are there many truths out there? Is there absolute truth, or are there absolute truths for only certain things, and then everybody's perspective, and their reality creates their current existence on Earth? I don't even know how to explain this really, so we'll just get right into it. So let's start with you, Geraldine.
Yeah, so the way I look at truth is that when the closer that you get with nature, the more that you align with nature, the more that you learn how to discern truth, because you become aligned with the greater organism from which you participate in. You are a fractal of infinite consciousness, your infinite potential, and in that infinite potential, you abide by the laws of this temporary realm in which you're experiencing consciousness. So in that process, you are learning how to discern truth, and there are certain laws that we kind of abide. They're the natural laws of this organism, of the greater organism. But in reality, until the human begins to deprogram all of the limiting things that don't allow it to embody a state of flow in which they can experience, because nature essentially is the cycles of life and death. If you cannot experience that flow in order to experience all potential, possibilities, because we are infinite potential, then you won't be able to discern exactly what is true. And what happens is that once you let go of one layer, you encounter another layer of yourself. And we actually are infinite layers of ourselves that we actually kind of uncover. And when you reach these higher states of consciousness, the truths that are true for you in this little human filter, they don't make sense anymore. And neither will those truths of those higher realms apply to your life here temporarily. So I think when it comes to truth, they're really it's more of learning how to discern, perhaps. The way I see truth and I teach is, uh, in order to know what is in balance, you're learning how to come into the highest state of balance and harmony with everything. And I think that essentially an energy can be destructive or it can be constructive. So you are learning how to apply those two. And at the same token, I don't think that there is free will because of this reason. I think that we are interconnected in systems, and we are an interdependent systems of co-experiencing. So this is my take on truth. I don't see it as an absolute. I see it as just an ever evolving discernment process of experiencing all potentiality.
Right. From what you're sharing, it's kind of like there's dimensional truths. Like there's this truth of this reality, this dimension that we're in. There's these rules or regulations, if you will, that we abide by within this collective experience. And then when you transcend this experience, you're part of a different dimensional experience, and there's another set of rules that you abide by. And if there is one truth, it's the ultimate truth that we're all here to experience.
Right.
Right?
And essentially, what the organism will survive if it keeps, based on the past question, evil is the inversion of truth and the manipulation, like Lori said, the inversion of truth. So that inversion of truth leads to the death of an organism or to the dissolving of the organism, because the organism is not sustained in a co-creative expression. It's a counter-creative expression. So essentially, the organism is learning how to expand and stay alive, essentially, learning how to experience all potentiality by evolving in each one of these levels that we are encountering within ourselves, inside out.
Right. Beautiful. Alan, you're back, brother. You want to jump in here?
Oh yeah, I'm like bookending things, the beginning and the end. So sorry I missed the conversation, because we are really at a point where I think Geraldine was hitting at the ideas that truths are not what they used to be. As we go to this next level, what was a paradox or confounding starts to become clear. That's what I'm actually seeing in the UFO circle. I'm seeing people confronted with the idea, how could something be energy and matter at the same time? How could it be in this dimension and another dimension? Because we have been limited by the laws of science that think that they have the whole truth. And what we're moving into, they're not supernatural. They're just higher laws of science that we have yet to think on. And I say it has more to do with apprehension than comprehension. We have to not collapse the wave function and saying, this is it. This is how it is. That's Newtonian. It goes like you put energy out, you get energy back. That's 400-year-old physics. And what we really want to achieve is, first, how do ETs think if we're going to understand their technology? It's not like we're going to have their technology and figure it out because we're thinking in a very linear Newtonian way. First, we have to be at the frequency of those beings building those ships. Mm-hmm. And then we'll understand their technology. And when we understand their mind and their technology, we are them. That's the evolution. So I'm really excited about how everyone in this panel always brings another piece to the puzzle, because we are at the cutting edge. To tell you the truth, I just spent the last 3 days in a very ordinary reality with my mother and her friends. And it's like, I'd have to say it has lowered my vibration a little bit. I'm not judging, but it's like, like the muggles, they everything is very black and white, and it's just like, it's like we have to keep reminding ourselves we need our community, because all of us, I know Lori's been at it for so long, bringing people up to a higher level, and everyone else, it's like we need the support of this evolving community to stay current within the currency of consciousness. So I'm always happy to be part and see all my familiar faces, Joan and Sheila and Jenna and everyone. I told Shangela the other day, it seems like there's only 100 people in the world, and they're all in our Zoom or in person. That's
too funny.
But it's our community. We have a really solid community that is really into supporting each other, whatever. Maybe there's disagreements, but it's like everyone's piece is really valued. And I value everyone on this call because they are adding to the future of what's possible. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the question. Truth, absolute truth. Lori.
Oh, okay. Well, first I want to address, in order to understand concepts of truth versus absolute truth, one really must understand the concept of paradox, because paradox means two things that seemingly cannot coexist can. So when you understand that paradox is real, two things seemingly that cannot coexist can coexist. So therefore, something that seems to be true does not necessarily negate something else that seems to be, that might seem to be impossible to be true, because the other truth negates it. Two things that seem to not be able to coexist can coexist. So this is when we're unpacking this concept of what is true and what is not true. One must allow for paradox to really understand absolute truth, because absolute truth effectively can and does allow for multiple truths to be true. However, at the same time, there are some absolute truths that doesn't matter whether you believe them or not. And that's when you have an absolute truth. An absolute truth does not need you to believe. For example, we exist. We exist as consciousness in some form or another through all eternity. That's absolutely true. So you can deny that there's multiple lifetimes. You don't have to believe in them. Okay, maybe you might reframe it. There are parallel existences, but you can deny it, but it doesn't really matter, because just because you deny it doesn't mean it's not true. But because you don't believe it, your reality will conform to it. So in other words, there are some things that are absolutely true, whether you believe or not. And at the same time, if you don't believe something, your reality will conform to you and present the reality you believe, so that you engage with reality at that level. So, and that's an absolute truth too. But here's the biggest thing about discerning truth versus not truth, and what I have found to be most helpful for me is in my spiritual journey, because again, for me, the whole process, I was never one of those people who was, my primary purpose was my own spiritual progress, my own personal growth and development, my own divine alignment. Everything else was just, part of the game, part of the experience. So in my desire to align with truth and to really discover and uncover and reveal truth to my own self, what I found was that if I would ask through my sacred heart center, through my own sacred neutral space, through my alignment with the divine and my own process for God, source, creator's truth, that's how I could uncover the truth. And that's part of my work. I align my truth with the truth of the divine. And so this supports and assists me in really discovering and uncovering that which we would determine or call absolute truth. And this is what I help others with too. The other thing I want to say is, and this is sort of something I think I heard Geraldine saying before through my own lens, is that today's sacred cow is tomorrow's, today's truth is tomorrow's falsehood, because truth is ever expanding and evolving. And so while there is degrees of perspective, yes, will create someone's reality. And at the same time, there are absolute truths. There are some fewer, but there are absolute truths. And our job is to sort of evolve beyond the recognition of is this real? Is this true? Or is this just my perspective? Or is this just a perspective that exists? Part of our job in searching for truth, so to speak, or uncovering truth, is to be willing to evolve beyond the limitation of our perspective, any current perspective, and to more fully align with divine perspective, divine truth. And at the same time, to recognize that through the infinite nature of our being, truth is always evolving, and expanding. And so again, today's truth can be tomorrow's falsehood, and that's also true. So it's a quest, and that's part of the passionate unfolding of the experience of this evolutionary journey, is our ability to sort of unpack, to discern, and to reveal. One last piece, and then I'll stop at this, is that one of my most favorite things has always been to access information and energy and consciousness from the non-physical realm and to bring it into the physical. So to me, in reality, truth exists in the non-physical, in the unknown. And we could, we could circle that back to our conversation about darkness and about going into that neutral space, because it's from there that truth is discovered. From my perspective, that's how I understand it. And that's where it's brought in. We have the unknown, we have the known, and then there's a whole realm of unknowable. We don't even know what that is. And we hope and intend, those of us who are seekers, to discover what may have been formerly unknown, bring it into the knowable through consciousness in the non-physical, and then expand it into the physical so it can be known. This is
yeah. Let's breathe that in for a second, shall we? Right before you started, I'm taking notes here, and I wrote paradox equals truth, and then you started. And so if there are some absolute truths, right, it would be more of the concept that paradox exists. That's the truth. That's an absolute truth. And humans, our minds are not programmed to understand the paradox, because the paradox is contradiction. It can't be one thing and something else at the same exact time. But ultimately, we are a contradiction, that we're physical beings, but also we're not, right? So it's like, how do we really understand the paradox? Or do we try not to understand it and just accept that it is? And maybe that's the pathway to enlightenment. And everything you were sharing. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say one other thing is that, written into the artificial, inorganic aspects, the corrupted DNA, is what I would call negative alien programming for argument and debate. And not only is there argument and debate, there's rightness and wrongness. I'm right, you're wrong. So that's what makes paradox, in my opinion, that's part of what makes paradox so difficult to embrace. Because if one is still DNA wired into argument, debate, right and wrong, one can never understand that all right, it's all right. No one, then in that space, it's just they're unconsciously wired into this can't be right because that has to be wrong, or this has to be wrong for that to be right. And then we have to argue and debate about it. So it restricts and limits the capacity to expand into this concept that we're talking about just all things existing at once, and that that whole paradox, coexistence concept. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, another paradox, that all things exist as once, yet I'm going to be somewhere else in a week from now. But that actual moment exists at this moment, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Sheila, what is the truth? Tell me the truth, please.
Wow. I've heard a lot of truth. And I agree with all of that. For me, there is a universal truth that we are extensions of the source consciousness having experience for growth. And that is like a truth that I do try to live by. I try to live by the fact that I am a soul having a human experience, and everything that I do trying to feed into that. And I agree, everything is just a perception, just like with the dimensions, it's a perception, because the shifts and the changes actually come in that density form, whether it's density level 1, 2, 3, whatever. But your densities and dimensions are different, because the densities or the dimensions are just your perception. And it's those perceptions that's creating our reality. So am I right and you wrong, or you wrong and I'm right? It's just our perception. And, more and more people are waking up to various levels of their own truth. They're waking up to the fact that, gosh, maybe I am a starseed. Gosh, maybe that blinking light in the sky actually is a UFO. Oh, maybe that was a UFO that landed in my front yard and left all of this debris or whatever it is that's out there. But people are really opening up. And just like you said, today's truth may be tomorrow it doesn't even exist. And so I just go by that one universal truth, and I try to live my life by that we are extended aspects of source.
Yes, the universal truth that we are all a part of Source. You know,
Absolutely.
I forget what
That
book
is
it was,
truth.
right?
That
There
is
was
our
one
truth.
book that said we're one speck of light
Right.
experiencing itself infinitely. I forget where
Absolutely.
that's from, you know.
Yeah.
And within that, we can we experience ourselves as separate, but we're all truly this one energy. And now we can quantify it. We can see it. Interconnectedness mathematically can even prove it. Jenna,
Yeah.
how about you? What is truth compared to absolute truth?
Oh man, when when Lori was talking, Lori, you're amazing. I just want to say that. It's been so awesome hearing you talk. And I just kept thinking, man, life is a trip, like that's a truth, is that like these sorts of conversations are just so like expanding and mind-blowing and fun to have. But, and to avoid repeating what others have said, I think about how the most powerful force in the universe, it seems, the most powerful energy, the most powerful bonding force is love. And I think when you kind of strip everything else away, I think unconditional love is like the ultimate truth. And like that's what we're ultimately working to remember, because that's like the inner essence of source energy. Like that's the inner essence of our higher selves. Like that's what we get back to, I guess, after we've stripped everything else away. So I guess when I think of truth or ultimate truth, I like to think of unconditional love as that.
Thank you. I love all these answers so much. And it's been really beautiful just like listening to all of you and your perspectives and what you feel and what truth really is. Just, it's been a great conversation, right, guys? Did you enjoy it? And this inspires me to do like I would love to have like a philosophical hour on Portal to Ascension or something like that to really go deep into these questions philosophically. So okay, we're gonna close out very soon here. We're gonna let's go to Alan again first, and Alan, please just jump in here, and then we'll go to Joan. Joan, I want to hear your answer on truth, and then Joan, you and I, we can and Alan, we can talk about the conference and close it out like that. So go ahead, brother.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's the question about truth, first, let me ask you, Neil, what do you mean by truth? I mean, I don't know what that actually even means, truth.
So we were asked, the original question was, are there many truths or is there an absolute truth?
Is there one consciousness or there are many consciousness, or all consciousnesses connected as a single consciousness? It sort of is like that. So I feel it's like on levels. There's my individuated, and then when we come together, me, you, and Joan, that's one level. And then we're at a couple of conferences where there were 100 people come together as a conscious being, as an entity. That's another level. So I think truth has to do with the multiplication of consciousness in a way. Yeah. How many, I mean, there's my individual truth, and then we have a collective truth. And then, yes, maybe consciousness makes up the ultimateness of all sentient beings and maybe beyond sentient. So there's that level. So maybe someone else has said it, but it depends on what level you're operating on. Are you operating on the individual, or we functioning as a collective? And within that collective, there may be different truths, but when we come together as a singularity of mind, what Bruce Lipton calls the synergy of awareness, we function as a whole.
Did we lose Alan? I think we lost Alan for a second. I'll jump back in here. If Alan comes back, we'll have him finish off. So what I'm taking from what Alan's saying as well is also kind of going with the paradox, right, guys? That there's this absolute truth, but there's all these many truths. And, the paradox is my favorite thing to explore, really. And I want to create a book my first like actual self book, I want to call it The Paradox. And I'm thinking after this conversation with you guys is to do it like where we all do a chapter each on the paradox. That'd be pretty cool, huh? So
That'd be
okay. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. But I've been writing down, like, I basically have a notepad on my phone where anytime a paradox comes up, I write it down so that I can, like, one day just go into each of these paradoxes and talk about it. But ultimately, the paradox, the experience, and also what Geraldine said, harmony and disharmony, I feel those are all absolute truths, right? So okay, we're gonna close out in a few moments here, but Joan, come join us, please. How do you feel? What is your
Well,
truth?
kind of interesting. I have a few different observations. You guys are also esoteric. I'm kind of real. My father told me that there was only one truth, and that truth was the truth that 99% of the people believe in. So that's the truth of the government, the pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, big companies, military, industrial, whatever they believe. If 99% of us believe it is true. So truth was always subjective. And yet I used to feel like that facts mattered, and that truth mattered, only to discover that if I knew that the sky was blue, but my dad's people thought it was red, then it was fucking red. Excuse my language. Okay. So when we talk about truth, I learned at an early age to have my own discernment factor. And I could start to discern truth from a lover who was lying about how they felt to being told to take this medicine here, I learned to have a filter about coming into my own personal truth. And then it took a lifetime to trust that maybe I was smart enough to know truth. So I actually think truth is how we resonate with it, how we learn to discern it with it. We could all be looking at an accident right here, and all 6 of us would have a different story about what happened in that accident. And we'd be all right because we looked at it from 360 degrees. It looks different. So the biggest thing for me was to understand that what I think of as truth is probably not truth. Like truth is almost irrelevant in the world today. Because if I really look at it, what is this forbidden archaeology? Well, that's because some people think they know the truth about archaeology and the other people think they know the truth about archaeology. And here we are confused in the middle. And so I really think truth is a matter of us learning this art of discernment. Does this sit with me? Can I believe that, giants were real? Where does it sit with me? And we go from there because it's all about us anyway. And even if I'm right, and I force you to believe it, I become wrong because I sort of forced you into the polarity of believing my own truth. So I don't know. I think I'm getting better with it. I no longer feel like I have to force people. I mean, listen, years ago, Neil and I would have these great arguments and I'd want to force him to believe it my way because I'd be so passionate about it. I think I've stepped more into neutrality because in the end, it doesn't matter if I'm right. Jenna's going to believe what she's going to believe anyway. And therein lies the paradox. Sheila may say walk-ins, hybrids, and extraterrestrials, but maybe Lori doesn't ever see them. Right. And that's her truth. And so this is very complicated in terms of running a society based on truth and no truth.
Whew. Deep, Joan.
Well, I didn't think I was as deep as all of you guys.
That was great. What you're saying also, there's also these some people out there that believe that all ETs are benevolent. Right? And it's almost like that they've only interacted with that and that's their truth because that's what's been in their experience, right? And then there are those that have had other experiences too. So it really is like whatever you create. And I know one of the other panelists was speaking about that, I think it was Lori, that your reality will contort to whatever you are putting out there, whatever your own perception is. Right,
and then do you use this truth to beat other people over the head with it? What do you do with your truth? To make everyone conform to your truth? So I don't know. I think it's a huge subject, Neil, and maybe I'm changing it as we speak about it because I know my truth and your truths are a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And that's the nature of the world. Your body operates different than I do. So whether it's a good day or not is going to depend on your experience.
Yeah. Well, when I asked this question, I thought I'd have more clarity at the end of it, but I truly do. It's like it's really that whole concept of like,
Oxymoron.
more
Maybe there is
the
no
more
truth.
questions you have, there is no, yeah. It comes down to accepting. I feel accepting. Lori,
Can I
yeah,
just
go ahead.
add one more thing about that? Is that
Yeah.
there is divine truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There is divine truth. And when you align with divine truth, I'm saying you, but I mean anyone. When we begin to align with divine truth, that's where we start to move into the realms of absolute. That's where we understand the paradox of absolute truth coexisting with perspective truth, because perspective is true, and those can all coexist in the realms of rightness and wrongness. And then there is absolute truth, which is absolutely true, whether or not someone has the perspective or not, and whether or not someone believes it or not is irrelevant.
Right.
Those absolute truths. But really, access to divine truth one develops that capacity as they sift through what I might call the fourth dimensional reality of all the non-physical, physical, non-physical beliefs, belief systems, egoic structures, inertia, energy, frequency, vibration, frequency fences of energetic goo and everything else. And as you get through that really energetically, which by the way can be done, the greatest portal of all besides portal to ascension, do you know which that is?
What is it?
The multidimensional heart. This is the portal. So when we go through the sacred heart, the multidimensional heart, we can access and align with divine truth. But we can't just, it's not a pill, this reality. We can't get to that. That is, in my opinion, that is hard earned. In my opinion, that is, for me personally, that has been a lifetime of devotion and countless other lifetimes. So, and when we dedicate ourselves to that journey of really choosing to align with the divine, we can uncover and reveal divine truths. And truth is absolute. And divine truth isn't just one truth. There are truths that are absolute.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's helpful.
Thank you.
And
Lori.
I agree completely. Like when you say love, like when Jenna said love, like love is absolutely true. Love is love. It doesn't matter if it's between a human, an animal, a human extraterrestrial, like it doesn't, a human and a tree. You know what I mean? It's love is love. And yes, harmony. When one is in harmony with their reality, harmony. It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely helpful. All right, so we're
Can
gonna
I
close
say
out.
one tiny thing I want to add to that? Just a little thought that
Yeah.
the journey of seeking truth as a seeker is going from separation into unity. And I feel that is that journey of embodying unconditional love and aligning with that divine source, So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm feeling, since we have some, like, really, all of you are really powerful individuals doing some incredible work, and a lot of awareness comes through you, that it would be beautiful if people do closing statements and panels, but instead of a closing statement, I would love for you just to do your own transmissions, right? And we'll just go down the panel. We'll start with Jenna, then Sheila, Lori, Geraldine, Joan, and just whatever energy, whatever download, whatever experience you want to curate for this, as we close out here. But before we do that, I'd love for everybody tuning in, because we do have some good views going on our channels here. Let's just all take a few moments and get into the practical application of this, which is the inner work, right? And these transmissions will be that, the reminder of the inner work, or just the energy exchange that will come from this panel, to the world. But let's just start with just a little bit of silence. We're going to take 3 breaths, and I'll guide it in a moment here. We're going to take 3 breaths together. We're going to breathe in through our nose as when I start guiding that moment. We're going to breathe into our hearts. And as we exhale, we're going to exhale out of our hearts, encompassing the planet, the solar system, the entire galaxy, with the true unconditional love that is within us all. So let's just all right now go ahead and just take a moment, get comfortable, and close your eyes. And I'm just going to outline how we're going to do this just so that we can go right into it. After we do these 3 breaths, Jenna, please go ahead. And then Sheila after Jenna, Lori after Sheila, Geraldine after Lori, and then Joan. And then we'll close out for today. So everybody just close your eyes at this moment. Just breathe normally. Just breathe normally and observe the thoughts. Observe the sensations in your body. Start to go within and to feel the sensations. Maybe the wind on your cheek. Maybe your clothes on your skin. Maybe the pumping of blood through your veins and arteries, or the feeling of your heart in your body. Enter your own sacred container now. Your own internal universe. Experience and enjoy what it is to be you. Sit with the discomfort if there is any, and observe. On your next inhale, we're going to begin with 3 breaths. In through the nose, expanding through the heart. Deep inhale. Expand out. Deep inhale. Expand it out into the cosmos. And one more time. And breathe normally as the transmissions begin, beginning with Jenna.
Thank you, Neil. You know, we can talk about so many things and get so philosophical, and there's so many practices and all the things, right, to keep us busy. But, you know, when it comes down to it, as starseeds, as humans, as souls here on Earth, our ultimate destiny is to just light the world up with love. You know, like when in doubt, when there's a lot going on, when it's too much to process, when you don't know what else to do or what modality or this or that to focus on, it's just love. Like we're just here to give and spread and share as much love as possible. That's our destiny.
Oh.
Beautiful. One of the things that I want to do is the infinity breath is coming forward. So again, let's go ahead and close our eyes. And as we begin to breathe in through the heart, out the back of the heart, around the left, back into the heart, out the back, around the right, into the heart. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Breathe in this beautiful golden light of the infinity. And as we're breathing in this light, this symbol begins to get larger and larger until it almost pops up like a slinky, connecting to the top and to the bottom, locking into place, opening us up to bring in all these conduits of light from 12 dimensions, connecting us all the way from that Earth star all the way up to the divine gateway. Just feeding the energy of our souls, our chakras, our emotional bodies, connecting us out through time and space and to each other. So very gently, just go ahead and close or open your eyes. And I'm going to keep this infinity running so that we're all continue to be connected into this web of life. And so it is. Thanks, Neil.
Awesome. So thank you, Sheila, for that. And what I thought I would bring through, what I get guided to do is to support and assist everyone in dropping, sorry, being corrected on the wording, in releasing and transmuting any and all densities, heavinesses, drosses that you're ready to release and give to the light, to be forever transformed into love and light, that you never again need to carry them and or perpetuate them, that you are done and complete with them, and give them to divine source, who will expand and up level and provide and instill within you in every cell of your body and being, with your consent and only with your consent, the gifts that are meant to replace that and to expand in, through, and around you. And in addition, with your consent, that divine source, creator God, one true God of light of creation, however you may identify that infinite consciousness, will provide to you, will instill within you and awaken from within you and every cell of your body and being its truth, its point of view, its perspective, understanding, and definition of divine truth, that you too will have and embody its truth, point of view, perspective, understanding, and definition of divine truth, that you will know what it means and what it feels like to embody the energies, the frequencies, and the vibrations of divine truth, and that you will have within you the key codes within your own DNA activated to awaken divine truth from within yourself. If you are willing, breathe, receive, consent, and allow. It's up to you to choose it. Long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths. If it feels comfortable, breathe straight through your multidimensional heart center. Allow it, and it shall be done momentarily. Just breathe so deep, relaxing as you can. Relax, receive, accept, and allow if you so choose. Source, creator God, activate, energize, amplify, anchor it in, and permeate through the entirety here now. And let's just do one more since we're on this topic. This is happening now. And that is divine discernment. For those of you who are choosing and willing, that you will have source, creator God consciousness, truth, point of view, perspective, understanding, definition of divine truth, to know what it means and what it feels like to have and to embody divine truth, that you're capable, divine discernment, brain altered, divine discernment, that you're capable of divine discernment, that you have and embody divine discernment, that you know what it means and what it feels like to embody the energies, frequencies, vibrations, and consciousness of source as it relates to divine discernment. With your consent, if you're willing, breathe, receive, accept, and allow. Long, slow, deep, relaxing breath if you're choosing it now. Just a few moments. Just feel and sense and allow if you so choose. Activate, energize, and finding now. And put. This is done. And so it is. I'm going to mute myself out for the next person.
As a fractal of infinite consciousness, we are here to experience infinite potential. And in that process of infinite potential, we are born and we come into the incarnate of the physical body, aligned with the genetic lineage that is encoded, the history of everything that you have been and everything that you have the potential of becoming. All of the families that you have been born into are interdimensional. And as you wake up consciousness, as you change your frequency, as you activate your DNA, you begin to activate that memory that is awakened within you. Many of you that have been born already remembering all of your interdimensional aspects actually hold the key to lifting the vibrational frequency of your families and your neighborhoods and your networks and society. So the thing is that you are embodying and you become a beacon of light that begins to resonate and expand and create a ripple effect in what we are interconnected in the morphogenetic field. So as you embody, you raise your frequency. The raising of frequency means to embody unconditional love. That's the ability of seeing yourself and all things as a part of you as one. And that unity consciousness that you embody allows you to explore out of body, in body experiences. So I guess to speak to the concept of star seeds and the whole topic of the conference that we're coming into, the idea is that every single word that we speak, every word has form, and that form becomes a vibrational frequency that then crystallizes as it touches your body. And when it crystallizes and touches your body, it activates aspects of yourself. So be mindful. Look at the lifestyles and the life that you, the ancestral lineages that you've come into, any kind of suffering that you hold embodied in your DNA. This is an amazing time to begin to release that, transmuting it, alchemizing it. The alchemization process, utilizing this physical body as a conduit of alchemization bioelectrically, is one of the most nourishing things that we can do, because you are like a spark of life force that charges also the collective awakening. So the most compassionate and loving thing to do for yourself and for the collective, and to begin to think in that way as a universal consciousness, what is good for me and the collective. This is kind of the new perspective that we're coming into, and making choices mindfully that we continue to think in this way universally for ourselves, elevating the consciousness of the collective. So this is my invitation.
Thank you, Geraldine. Joan, take us home.
Each of you has the potential to do that which you've always known that you can do. Now is really the time when these ascension timelines have opened up, so that the energy for all the collective to achieve their dreams, their visions, and their missions is possible. Align with those who hold those values to be true, and immerse yourself in the teachings. Don't worry whether it's true or not true. Worry more about what suits you, what fits you, what rings a bell for you, what makes your heart sing, because that is your truth. And the truth is that you're part of an immense collective that you are going to learn more about as we go through time. So be proud, like really remember who you are. You are an amazing being of light that came here, that chose to be here at this time. We are all so grateful for your service and for each of our service, because we are part of what is this awakening. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you so much, Joan. Thank you to all the panelists here. I'm gonna go ahead and play the trailer one last time as we close out. Just want to say thank you so much. This was awesome, really, truly incredible. Love the conversations. Just read a couple comments here that we have. We have in the chats here, Patricia saying, "I just love every piece of this video. Great info, awesome guest, sending peace and blessings. Love it. What a great conversation." And then Lauren Bruno was saying, when we're talking about darkness, such an important topic. So I'm really happy that we got to really go deep. From a 40 to 1 hour long experience, we ended up going to almost 3 hours, so 2.5 hours. So that was beautiful. So thank you again to everybody. Thank you to all tuning in, and join us at the Portal to Ascension Conference. All of us are going to be there in San Diego, 3 to 3.5 weeks from now, at the Marina Village. ascensionconference.com, and we're going to close out here with the trailer. So love you all. Thank you so much. See you guys later. Let me put it on gallery so you can see everybody here. There we go. Okay. After 3 years of having to produce the Portal to Ascension conference online, We have been waiting for this moment. The Portal to Ascension Conference is returning live and in person. Join us at the Marina Village in San Diego, California, April 21st to 23rd, 2023. As massive shifts are happening on the planet and hidden truths are being uncovered, we are piecing together the fragmented parts of our existence and timeline. At Portal to Ascension, we are dedicated to full circle awareness of the truth of who we are and remembrance of our connection to the cosmos. This is showtime. There is no holding back. Now is the time for us to harmonize the frequencies and create unity and peace on Earth. We are deprogramming from an outdated matrix system, re-educating and remembering an inherent truth that connects us all. As we come together, we activate our truest potentials, individual gifts, and collective resolve. We are ushering a whole new reality that we know is possible and is waiting for us to embrace it. Join founder Neil Gore and the entire Portal to Ascension team with hosts Alan Steinfeld, Michelle Anderson, and Joan of Angels over these 3 days, April 21st to 23rd, 2023. We will experience musical performances by Larissa Stowe and the Shakti Tribe, Vox Angeles, Share the Light, Admiral Apollo, and Torquemji. This conference features incredible luminaries such as JJ and Desiree Hurtak, Adam Apollo, Carolyn Corey, Robert Schock, Linda Moulton Howe, Robert Edward Grant, Barbara Lamb, and many more. Register now at ascensionconference.com. It is time for humanity to awaken. There we go. Love you all so much. Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everyone.
Love
See you in San Diego.
See you soon.